Hey guys, so today we are going to review the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Foundation and the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Concealer. I've been testing these guys out for over a week and I know that they're not brand new to the market, but they are new to me and I definitely have some thoughts on them, particularly if you have combination skin. So if that sounds interesting to you, then make sure you keep on watching. But before we get started, please make sure you hit that subscription button and that notification bell so that you and I can be friends. Also, come and check me out on Instagram. I post lots of photos and videos and reels and I would love it if you came and followed me there. Now, let's get stuck into the review. So I recently did a really big Colourpop order because I wanted to pick up the Wild Nothing collection. So while I was there, I picked up a few other things. And one of those things was the Pretty Fresh Foundation and Concealer. Now, the reason why I wanted to pick this up is because I have not seen a bad review, particularly about the foundation. I haven't seen too much on the concealer, but I have not seen a bad review about this foundation. So many people seem to love it. And I was wondering if it actually would work that way for me, because a lot of the YouTubers that I watch, or a lot of the reviews that I've watched on this foundation has been with people with dry skin. I don't know why, if it's just the YouTubers that I'm watching, but most people I seem to watch on YouTube have dry skin. Now, I very much have combination skin, almost verging on oily skin, particularly in the summertime. It's really humid in Australia where I live. So during the summertime, it gets really hot and I definitely get a lot more oily. So I was wondering if this foundation would actually work for someone with combination skin like myself. Okay, so before we get started on me putting the foundation on for you guys and my thoughts, I'm gonna quickly run you guys through the general details of this product. This is the packaging that the foundation itself comes in. So it's like a nice little peach box, and then it kind of has an explanation on the foundation on the box, and then also has directions on the back of the box on how they recommend you using the foundation. This is what the foundation bottle itself looks like out of the box. So it's just like a clear plastic bottle. The bottle itself is pretty cute. It's like a little bit heavy. It's not super luxurious. It is plastic. So I do wish that they would have made this a glass bottle just for environment's sake, but it is a plastic bottle, but it does feel pretty durable and heavy. It doesn't feel super cheap looking or anything like that. The foundation is $16 US and it comes in 42 shades, which is actually really awesome. And they do seem to have a really, really nice shade range of like lighter to darker, deep dark skin tones on their website. So I think their shade range gets an A+. Now, this foundation is also dermatologist tested. It's oil free and it's vegan, and it is a hydrating foundation. So it says a hydrating foundation with skin perfecting medium buildable coverage for natural, healthy looking skin. And it does say that it's infused with hyaluronic acid, known to hydrate and support healthy skin, and also coconut water, known to support hydration and skin softness. And it is ideal for all skin types. I did not realize this product had coconut water in it. That's gonna break me out. That's definitely going to be causing me breakouts. Anyway, I got the shade 40N in this foundation, and when I very first put it on, or very first put it on the back of my hand, it is actually a really, really beautiful match for me. However, this foundation oxidizes, and I think that's probably my biggest complaint about this foundation, is that it definitely oxidizes, and when you first put it on, you think it's this amazing perfect shade match, and then it just kind of gets darker and darker and darker. So that is a little bit disappointing. I'm actually going to leave this on my hand for a little bit, just so that you guys can see how it does oxidize. The foundation has now dried on the back of my hand, and I'm hoping that you can see that that is a much, much darker color than when I originally put it on. Now, I just have some more foundation on my finger here, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between these two and how much it oxidizes. So you can definitely tell that this swatch right here that I just put down is so much more lighter than the one that has dried down from before. So like I'm saying, if you are going to look at getting this foundation, make sure you pick up a shade that is a little bit lighter, because that's how much darker it gets. Okay, so moving on to the Pretty Fresh Concealer. This is what the concealer packaging looks like. So it's basically exactly the same as the foundation, but in a smaller box. And then this is what the concealer looks like outside of the box. The concealer is plastic. Most concealers are. I don't know if you can get a non-plastic concealer, but it is, you know, same thing. It doesn't feel super cheap or anything like that. It's a cute like little bottle, and it has kind of like your standard flat doe foot applicator. This concealer is $9 and comes in 30 shades. Now, the description of this on the website is a creamy, cushiony concealer with full coverage and a fresh, natural finish that lasts all day. Super blendable and loaded with skin-loving hyaluronic acid and coconut water. Oil-free, dermatologist tested, and ideal for all skin types. I forgot to mention as well that the foundation does come with your standard 1 fluid ounce, and that's very kind of stock and standard across most foundations. However, the concealer, when looking at it, I presumed that this concealer didn't have a lot of product in it because it is kind of so small. Like when you look at it compared to other concealers, it is quite small. So you presume it doesn't have a lot of kind of product in it. However, looking at this, it does have 0.30 fluid ounces of product in it. Now, when comparing that to other concealers, it is actually quite a lot. So this is the Makeup Forever HD concealer, which, as you know, is not a cheap concealer. And this one actually only has 0.16 fluid ounce in it. So this one cost me 50 Australian dollars. This one with the conversion probably cost me about 14 Australian dollars, maybe 15. So I'm getting double the product for way less than half the price. Also looking at the Fenty Beauty. So Fenty Beauty, you get 0.27 fluid ounces versus 0.3. The Jouer High Coverage Concealer, which looks like it has a lot of product in it, actually only has 0.139 fluid ounces in it. So again, paying double the price but getting half the product. Okay, so I've zoomed you guys in nice and close so that we can see what the foundation looks like going onto my skin. Now, I don't have any primer or anything like that on. I just have my moisturizer. So you can see that I definitely have a lot of breakouts and scarring over this side. I have some breakouts coming up over this side, all that kind of thing. So we're gonna see how well this foundation covers, or you guys are gonna see. I kind of already know, but I want to show you like a demo in real time. So I am gonna do one half of my face with a brush and the other half with my sponge. I do know how I like to apply this foundation already, but I do want to show you guys exactly how it goes with both. So I'm gonna take the foundation on my Sigma F80 flat kabuki brush, and I just have about half a pump on my brush there so that you can see, and I'm gonna put it onto the left side of my face. And when it first goes on, it's gonna look like the right color, maybe slightly light. Okay, so this is one layer of the foundation with a brush, and I do really like the way this foundation goes initially onto my skin. I think it does look really quite nice, and it doesn't leave any brush marks or anything like that in the skin, so you can definitely use a brush. And you can still see some of my breakouts coming through up here. And a little bit of my scarring kind of coming through, but it is like a legitimate medium coverage, I would say. Exactly that, a medium coverage. So let's go ahead and use the sponge on the other side. So again, I've taken about a half a pump for the other side of my face, and I'm just going to pounce this out, and I'm just using the Real Technique sponge as well for this. So this is the side of my face that I use just for the sponge, and this is one layer. Now you can definitely see more of my blemishes and my scarring and that come through on this side from the sponge. You can also see more of my pigmentation versus the brush side. So you definitely get more coverage with a brush than with the sponge. So keeping that in mind, I guess that's gonna be your preference, whether you want it sheerer or more full coverage. I personally like to use the sponge, and I like to build it up just because I like kind of that finish a little bit more. It kind of melts into the skin a little bit more. So I'm going to take another half pump and build this coverage up on my cheeks, just kind of in the areas that I want more coverage, especially around my scarring and my breakouts, which are driving me nuts. I'm also just going to build up this side a little bit more with the sponge as well, just because I know that that's the way that I like to do it, just to create a bit more of a full coverage, just so that you guys can see. I do like to wear it more medium coverage, but just so that you guys can tell what they kind of look like. Okay, so this is the foundation built up to kind of full coverage. It's probably not full coverage, but it's as full coverage as I'm willing to go, because otherwise it starts to look cakier. I just think all foundation kind of looks cakey at a certain point when you're building it to be full coverage. So this is about as full coverage as I like to go. You can still kind of see some blemishes and scarring coming through on this side just because they're so stubborn on this side, but you can just cover that with some concealer as well if you really want to. I usually find once I powder my face, it kind of blurs them all out anyway. Now I do think that this foundation goes on very beautifully. It doesn't really like emphasize any kind of texture in terms of like my blemish texture, if that kind of makes sense. However, I will say that it definitely does not blur your pores. So if pores are a sensitive area for you, you might want to put down like a pore smoothing primer first. And the other thing it definitely does instantly is settle into my kind of lines, my smile lines here. I only have these like little baby ones and then just kind of very faint ones here, but it does settle in them immediately when you put this foundation on. So that's also something to keep in mind if you have a lot of fine lines. Maybe that's not going to be something for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put the concealer on now. Now the shade in the concealer that I got, sorry, I actually didn't tell you at the start, is shade 20N. So this is what the shade itself looks like. It is quite fair. I think its actual shade name is Fair 20N, so it's quite light. So I'm going to put this on, and I have really kind of difficult under eyes. I have a lot of hyperpigmentation in this area right here. So yes, it looks like I put a lot of concealer on, and it's because I do. Do you need this much concealer? Probably not if you don't have under eyes like me. And if you don't have under eyes like me, I definitely don't recommend putting this much concealer on because it's too much. But I do because I have really, really dark circles and really, really bad pigmentation. And actually, like, what I normally like to do is put a bit of a darker concealer on first and then use something this light to brighten it up, because usually if you go this light over kind of pigmentation, it's not going to cover it anyway. It's not cancelling out the darkness. But I didn't want to put another concealer on underneath for this review because you wouldn't get the true representation of what this concealer looks like. You know what I'm saying. I'm actually going to let this concealer sit here for a minute because it is very hydrating, so it doesn't dry down very quickly, and I find that if I let it sit for a minute, it kind of builds up more coverage. So this has been sitting on my face for a couple of minutes now, so what I'm going to do is take my Real Technique sponge and I am going to blend this out so that you guys can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is the concealer kind of all built up. Now I'm going to drop my lighting really low so that you guys can actually see hopefully what my skin and my under eyes and all that kind of stuff is looking like. Now you can still see my dark circles, you can still see my pigmentation, and I've built this concealer up as much as I'm willing to before it's going to start looking really, really cakey. I'm not overly stoked with this concealer. Not that I'm saying that this is a bad concealer in any way, because I'm definitely not. I'm just saying that I personally am not happy with this level of coverage. Now again, is it because I haven't color corrected? Potentially, but it does say that this is a very full coverage concealer, so I would expect it to cover more than what it has, that's for sure. So that's kind of what it's all looking like in real life, up close, nice and personal. Okay, so now what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to go and finish the rest of my face and put my powder and all that kind of stuff on and just completely finish the rest of my face. I'm actually filming my Wild Nothing review right now as well, so I'm going to go and do all of that, and then when my makeup's completely finished, I am going to come back and show you what it looks like. I'm back and the rest of my makeup is complete and done. Now again, I have done a review on the Wild Nothing collection from Colourpop Cosmetics, which is this one right here. So if you are interested in my thoughts on this collection, then I will link it up here and down below for you because it will be up first. I'm going to zoom you guys in nice and close and turn my lights down so that you can really see what my skin is looking like now that I've got powder on and bronzer and setting spray and all that kind of stuff. So let's get in up close and personal. This is what my skin is looking like with everything on my face. So what you can see here is it definitely settles in my fine lines around my mouth right here, as you can see, and they have gotten a little bit worse. On the other days when I've worn this foundation, it generally doesn't get too much more like deep set than this, but still I've got other foundations that won't do that at all. I will say that my chin is kind of looking a little bit cakey, as well as like this side of my kind of face is looking a little bit more cakey, but other than that, it's not looking too bad. So my thoughts on this foundation and concealer. Let's do concealer first. Now I think this is a good concealer. I think that if you are looking for a medium coverage hydrating concealer, then this is for you. My issue with this concealer is that they advertise it as full coverage, and I don't personally believe that this is full coverage. Comparing this to, say, the True Blend, the CoverGirl True Blend concealer, sorry, the Tarte Shape Tape, or even the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate ones, this is like nothing compared to those. They are full coverage concealers. So I don't personally love this concealer because it is medium coverage and I'm looking for full coverage concealers. Now moving on to the foundation. I like this foundation, but I don't love this foundation. I don't know if it's just that I am 30 or if I have combination skin and a bit more textured skin or whatever it is, but I just don't rate this foundation the way that other people seem to rate this foundation. Now, they're probably not lying in any way. It's just that it doesn't seem to work as amazingly for me as it does seem to for others. And the reason why I say that is it really settles in this area right here on my mouth. Like, I have other foundations that don't do that at all. It does really emphasize my pores more than other foundations. I just find overall that this foundation goes on beautifully, and then as it dries, it kind of gets just cakey looking on the skin, I personally find. It could just be my skin, it could just be my expectation of the product, but I just don't find that I super love it. Now in terms of combination skin and long wearing with this foundation, it's gonna wear how you think a hydrating foundation is gonna wear, to be completely honest with you. I definitely get oily in my T-zone very quickly, and I should have filmed it, but I stupidly didn't, but I've already powdered my T-zone. So it's like an hour and a half and I've already re-powdered my T-zone because it was like my chin especially and up here was looking a little bit shiny already. Now again, if you don't mind some of that shine coming through, you're probably gonna love this foundation, but I don't. I like my T-zone specifically to be very matte, and I just like to concentrate my shine to my cheeks where I put my highlight. So it's not super long wearing. It doesn't necessarily wear away like other foundations I've had does, but I just would say that it's not super long wearing if you do have that oily combination skin type, or you're just gonna have to take your powder with you to touch up through the day. So if you don't mind taking your powders with you throughout the day and touching up, then it's beautiful, great. You'll probably really like it in terms of long wearing. Now, you might not have this experience with this foundation. I want to disclaimer that I'm not saying overall that the foundation is bad. I'm just saying for my skin type, combination skin with some texture and some fine lines, it just isn't what I'm looking for. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Okay, I'm gonna leave this review here. Hopefully you found that helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you have this foundation? Do you like it? Does it work for your skin type? What kind of skin do you have, so that others can see as well? Maybe you have dry skin and it works beautifully for you. Or let me know if you're thinking of picking up this foundation and kind of what's drawing you in. You know I love hearing from you guys, so pop it down in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I hope that you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye.